So a couple of weeks ago, Lonnie Montreal led the season's poetry session of the MBT Creative Writing Series, and she introduced us to the work of George L. Lyon, Where I'm From poem, which has been used to jumpstart poems through the templates like this one that Lonnie brought in. Basically, you just fill in whatever they ask for, and basically you've got a good basis foundation for your poem. There's actually personalized versions of the Where I'm From poems all over the internet, and so you can Google that and actually see other people's versions. This version is my version, and it's part one. There's no part two yet, so this is Where I'm From, part one. I'm from poured concrete steps on West Side bungalows, well worn by rear ends of loitering youth. I'm from homemade tamales, tortillas, pancit, and chicken adobo, ping-pong across the gangway from the Zarita family next door. I'm from Sunday school catechism, confusing contradictions, and suppressed laughter, ending painfully in Mam's Korot in the pews of a now demolished Catholic church. I'm from Da Vinci's Last Supper, inlaid in wood on one dining room wall, and a golden Buddha on the other. I'm from immigrant thrift and timid generosity. I'm from Saturday morning harvests of wall-to-wall carpet pillings, one lint ball after a lint ball after a lint ball at a time. I'm from house guest after house guest finding their American footing in our single-family home. I'm from risky games of fast pitch on graffitied school walls, gang-tagged baseball bats borrowed from the collection of a neighbor's cop dad, and brown skin scarred from asphalt playgrounds. I'm from white flight and interchanged oppressors. I'm from a bullet flying through a CTA bus window, causing no casualties, but making it smart. I'm from air-filled skyscrapers overlooking a great lake of tears. I'm from quiet revolution and complicit subversion, from multiculturalism before its naming, and breakthroughs too little, too late, silently swallowed like the bitter tea. I'm for forgotten histories, abandoned by distance, time, and self-survival, shaped by the colonial hands that rocked the cradles of those I call friends. I'm from China and Spain and the Philippines and America and Earth, from Arsenio and Anita, now buried in this country's dirt, surrounded by their Polish and Italian Catholic neighbors, down the road from my father's favorite smorgasbord. I'm from the promise my ashes someday will grow fragrant sampaguitas in sweet Chicago soil. Thank you. The next piece is called The End of Memory. It's less about the memory of moments than it is about the memory of self. The end of memory. I can barely remember myself swimming off Promontory Point, leaping from concrete blocks, shifted and eroded by wind and waves, eluding twisted metal and smelling of bait, limbs trembling from cold water, even under July midday sun. This moment, ransomed by time, a border existing solely on a faded map, long overrun by grievance and comfort, ceded to an annihilation and regret, reflections measured by war and loss, ammunition for remembering. I can still summon inarticulate aggression, a subtle self-destruction from years of practice. But now, too old to subscribe to youthful beliefs of binary outcomes of glory and death, I take solace in redacted memory, perfect in its regret. A story woven in pages resurrected from the ashes of a book, long ago scattered at the edges of the world, an incalculable history I can barely remember myself. Thank you. Thank you, Alex. We can all relate to your Chicago neighborhood.
Our next reader before the intermission is Elaine Takagi, and she has been with the workshop for a number of years, and she has a new piece for us.
Trax woke up at high noon. His bandmates were already gone. He woke up to an empty hotel room. Andon, the kind, thoughtful organist, had drawn the thick beige curtains shut so that the Los Angeles sun wouldn't wake him. Trax sat up and turned on the lamp. He fumbled through the small wooden desk drawer for the ubiquitous hotel stationery notepad. He was going to try something new. He would make a list and check it off as he went along. Day 1 of the new Trax. He underlined it for emphasis. Number 1, arrive on time. No, early for sound check. The fingers that glided through the Battles hit song, Showing You, found it hard to hold the pen. Trax was horrified at how bad his handwriting really was. Number 2, call Emma, but be nice. His wife Emma would be shocked that Trax was sober enough to call during the day. She would be touched that he called her to check in, rather than her putting out an APB to find him. Number 3, drink cups of water instead of beer during the song transitions backstage. Number 4, wipe your girl down proper. He suspected a clean guitar would not only sound better, but might be easier to play. It would definitely smell better. Right now, his guitar reeked of metallic drool. Number 5, watch what you're doing. He looked at his writing on the page. The 5th item had not come out quite the way he would have wanted. However, Trax knew deep down inside what it meant. He was turning 35 in 2 weeks. He was changing. He felt it more and more every day. He didn't like it, but he couldn't help it. Watch what you're doing meant enjoy it while it lasts. Trax was saddened to think he could not recall some of the happiest moments of his life of the last 10 years. He had lived too fast and was not sober for most of it. Of course, he had lived through every Battle concert. He had attended myriads of after-concert jams at friends' houses. He had crammed into the back of small bars and jammed well into the early morning hours. He wished he remembered more. Once, for just a moment before taking the stage at Madison Square Garden for the first time, he peeked from behind the big black curtain. The darkened arena was like a starry night. Trax had thought, I made it. I'm on stage at Madison Square Garden. Imagine that. Deep in his soul, he carried his cherished honey thought. He was glad to have that one. He stole that one. His wife, Emma, about 10 years ago, dressed in a creamy gauze blouse, leaning into him, her chestnut hair falling soft on his arm. They were at a rooftop restaurant watching the sunset over a lake. As the light moved from golden to orange, then red, purple, and blue, he took a mental snapshot of her. She was fucking beautiful, he thought. Trax was afraid to lose that memory, so he never told Emma about any of his real infidelities. He only shared with Emma the cheap one-offs that didn't matter to him. One time, a girl who really wanted to meet Andon, let Trax pinch her nipples. He pinched them like he plucked at his guitar strings. He had hummed the opening chords to 25 Years from Home. He laughed, and the girl laughed too. He shared this story with Emma about a week later. Emma just hit him on the arm and said, "Cheeky bastard. I hope Andon was worth it." Emma picked up the phone on the 12th ring when he called her. "Hello?" she said timidly into the phone. "Trax? Is it you?" "Right. It's me. What took you so long?" His annoyance was rising. "Of course it's you. I can see your number. What's wrong?" "Nothing. Does something have to be wrong for me to call my wife and just say, 'Good morning, Em?'" "No, of course, you can call me. I was just taking a shower. Been in the garden all morning. Isn't it early there? Aren't you just getting in? How was the concert last night?" No, Em. I've already slept. I'm up and about. Say, is Jolly around?" "No, Trax. It's only 3 p.m. here. He's still at school." "Yeah, right," Trax grunted, disappointed. "Sure you're all right?" Emma pushed one last time. Yeah. One more thing. "I love you, Em," Trax said with feeling and conviction. "Oh, Trax, aren't you sweet?" Emma's guard came down. "Trax, Jolly's having a bring your dad to school day. He's excited. He wants to bring you. I already told him you were too busy, but he wants to ask you anyway. Do be kind when you turn him down." "Of course, I would be delighted to go. I don't see why not," Trax exclaimed. "Just text me the details." As he hung up, Trax realized he suddenly had a lot to do. However, even as the call ended, a nagging doubt began to fester in the back of his mind that he might not be able to make it to the school in one piece. Such is the life of a rock guitarist. Trax knew he really should get on with cleaning his guitar if he truly wanted to be a new man. He reluctantly searched his luggage for the soft cloth and can of lighter fluid set aside for this special purpose. He started wiping down the guitar's neck, but stopped after a few distracted strokes because he really didn't feel like it. Trax also knew he could get his guitar tech, Noel, to clean the guitar for him. From a certain angle, it had literally been years since Trax had done anything for himself and by himself. Being lead guitarist for a popular band had its perks. The silence in his midday hotel room made him jittery. Trax had been born Alan Humphreys, the younger of 2 sons to Leo Humphreys, a former factory worker turned shop clerk in a small town in northern England. Alan, or Lanny as he was known then, was a good lad with average intellect. For as long as he could remember, Trax had always had trouble sitting still. However, he loved facing the head of the classroom because 2 huge windows framed the headmistress on either side of the chalkboard. The coming of spring had always been a challenge because as it grew warmer, the windows were open on both sides, making it impossible to concentrate. The end of the school term always came as a pressure valve release. Finally, by the age of 16, Trax was legally free to leave school, so he did. Within 2 years, Trax, who was still living at home with his parents, took a job alongside his father at the factory. Trax picked up the soft cloth, and wet it with the lighter fluid, and began to wipe using small, careful circles up the guitar's neck. The artificial chemical smell of the lighter fluid was the only thing even remotely industrial in Trax's LA music world. He worked methodically, wiping down the white guitar's neck, lightly scrubbing the silver fretboard with his fingernails covered in the cloth. The guitar's metallic shine grew steadily. From somewhere inside his memory, Trax remembered the pleasure of taking his helmet, goggles, and gloves off after a long day at the factory. His sweaty hair made him capable of feeling even the slightest breeze, and it had pleased him. In his 9 years at work there, he had learned how to drill straight lines of uniform holes. He took a moment now to enjoy how sexy his guitar, his girl, looked right now. He would make her growl tonight. Pleased with himself, Trax checked off his list, calling Emma and cleaning his guitar. He was determined to beat both Noel, his guitar tech, and Andon, his bandmate, to sound check. Later, refreshed from a shower, Trax put on blue jeans and black and white high tops. He didn't bother with a shirt. He was almost out of the lobby when he realized he would need a shirt to be served lunch anywhere in downtown LA. So he trotted back up to his room, where he slapped on a plain white t-shirt. Looking at himself in the mirrored surfaces of the hotel lobby, he was disgusted. He thought, I look like my dad more and more every day. The high tops gave his feet a break and were very comfy in sharp contrast to his boots. Lately, his feet were killing him. The pain started like clockwork around 45 minutes before the end of the concert. Initially, Trax thought he had a pebble right under the ball of his left foot. He kept checking. The pain would appear and disappear intermittently. He knew he should go see the doctor, but he had no time. Trax texted Andon that he was grabbing a sandwich and was already on the way to the venue. Andon texted back, is this really Trax? What's up? Trax did not reply. Fueled with resolve not to be like his father Leo, Trax arrived at soundcheck 35 minutes late. Yeah, he was late, but it was all for good cause. He had stopped off to buy Jolly, his son, a brand new Fender guitar. Sure, it was too big for him, but Trax was certain Jolly would grow into it. During the concert, Trax rode high on visions of being the coolest dad on Bring Your Dad to School Day. His father Leo had missed Trax's high school graduation. I have to work, he had said. Trax never quite bought that explanation and harbored deep resentment that only hardened with age. He was determined to make it to the school no matter what. He was angered by Emma's assuming he was not going to go. He would show Emma how wrong she was and show Leo what a real father looked like. He drank 3 beers backstage that night. He had not accomplished everything on his list, but it was close enough for factory work. Besides, tomorrow was a new day.
It was Elaine Takagi. That's going to be a movie too, Elaine. It's like Almost Famous. So we're going to have about a 15-minute intermission. So go and fuel up and get ready for the second half. All right, thank you guys.